with the stock market a few points from the all-time highs. And the war between the White House and the Federal Reserve has just exploded a little bit more. President Trump is now actively trying to fire Fed Governor Lisa Cook, and she is suing him to stop it. This is a full-blown crisis over who controls the economy overall, and it's happening as the markets is flashing major bubble warnings that we're going to be talking about a little bit later. If you guys don't want to miss out anything in this video, we're going to be talking about some supports and resistance a little bit later and get down to some plays that we can make. With that being said, we do got NVIDIA's earnings that we're going to be talking about later on. That's going to be the biggest event today after market close. Let's get started. Let's get straight into the news. So what is happening? President Trump is firing or trying to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, accusing her of mortgage fraud. Her response, Cook says the allegations are false and is refusing to resign overall and is now suing the administration to block the move overall. Why does it matter? This is a huge clash over the independence of the Federal Reserve. And if Trump fires her, it shows that, politics are included into the Federal Reserve and they're not really as solo as they were, which is supposed to be a free from political pressure overall. So keep this in mind overall, because this can potentially bring down the stock market. As we seen a few months ago when Trump was trying to fire Jerome, the market could have dropped like 25% from that. But it's not going to drop as much, and it's probably not even going to have a big drop. But it can show that the Fed isn't really as independent. And Trump did come out saying yesterday that he's going to get more people on his side for a rate cut, and he's going to be moving some people around. So we'll see how this happens in the future and what all happens overall. But next, we have the DOJ investigating United Health. And honestly, man, it did bring the stock down overall. But what is happening? The Department of Justice, DOJ, is investigating United Health Group, one of the largest healthcare companies in the U.S. As we've seen a few months ago, this thing dropped more than 50%, and it's still kind of on its lows, but it is kind of rallying a little bit. We've seen some major people invest into it, and it kind of brought some green candles. But the investigation is focused on potential antitrust violations, specifically how United Health's ownership of both massive insurance business and a huge network of doctor offices, Optum, might be hurting competition overall. They're also looking at the company's Medicare billing practices and why it matters. This is a big deal because it could lead to major changes in the healthcare industry overall and how insurance companies basically operate in the future. It's all about making sure patients have fair choices and aren't really overcharged overall, especially with the insurance that you're using. But now we have Trump's war on Federal Reserve might backfire. So Trump's war on the Fed, what's happening? President Trump has been publicly attacking the Federal Reserve and its chairman, Jerome, as we've seen, for not lowering interest rates. He wants a lower interest rate overall. With that being said, Trump's goal is he wants lower interest rates to make it cheaper for the government to borrow money and boost the economy overall. And honestly, man, they're paying a lot of money every single month in interest with their debt. Why? It could backfire. Economics warn that pressuring the Fed could lead to higher inflation overall, hurt the Fed's credibility, and ultimately cause instability in the financial markets overall. It's a huge stakes battle over who controls the economy overall. And honestly, man, if you guys have them on Truth Social, you guys can see the shots fired at Jerome, especially before a meeting. All right, so now we have the U.S. tariff revenue is surging. So we are seeing some good stats, but honestly, man, I don't know how true it is yet. But with that being said, what's happening? U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced that revenue from President Trump's tariffs is projected to be much higher than initially expected overall. The numbers, Bessent now believes that the yearly revenue could be well over $500 billion and potentially even approach $1 trillion, which is insane. A significant increase from the original $300 billion estimate that they had before. The administration says the extra money will be used to make a meaningful dent in the budget deficit and start paying down the national debt overall, which is insane. And we also had Trump come out saying that he might be giving it, to the people. So keep this in mind overall. First link in the description below, I have a bunch of courses to help you guys become more profitable. So go check out these courses with that code down below. You guys can get 50% off, and the courses are already relatively cheap. I can promise you'll make your money back within the first day of using all the knowledge that you guys learned. And EU is proposing to remove the US tariffs this week to meet Trump's demand. So we might get maybe a better deal, and or just this removing the tariffs might be a little bit better overall for the stock market. So keep this in mind overall. Now we got to talk about the earnings this week, but mainly, man, everybody knows it's Nvidia, and this man right here has the stock market on his shoulders right now. So literally how this earnings can go can really determine where the stock market might move for the next couple of days, 2 weeks. So keep this in mind overall. This is going to be right after market closes. So honestly, man, everybody's anticipating this earnings. But that being said, some other earnings that we do have Kohl's and some other ones that aren't really too big. We do have Snowflake as well with Nvidia, which is going to be the biggest thing ever. It's going to be moving other chip stocks. Nvidia has like an 8% hold on the S&P 500, and it has the potential to move other stocks like AMD, Broadcom, and other AI stocks too. We also have CrowdStrike, HP, Five and Below, some other decent earnings too. But I think everybody's watching Nvidia. Tomorrow, before open, we have Dollar General, Best Buy, we have a bank, and then some other ones too, not really too major. And then after close, we have Dell. And then honestly, maybe Petco, maybe might be a good one for some people. And then on Friday, we do have Alibaba, and people are watching the AI and how their AI is kind of moving overall, and maybe looking at some sales too, especially seeing some tariff effects. So keep that in mind overall for the earnings calendar. And the next thing, man, we do have the stock market calendar overall. And today we mainly just have a speech planned. So keep that in mind. You never know. Trump might come out too. Thursday, initial jobless claims, GDP, pending home sales. And then we have a Federal Reserve governor talking at 6 p.m. So 2 hours after market closes. But with that being said, I think the initial jobless claims and GDP an hour before market opens can potentially have a big move on the market. So keep that in mind overall. As we see with the SPY though, yesterday we did move up pretty strong. At first, we were kind of just slowly moving, and then finally we had big green. I think it was while Trump was talking, he was coming out with some good things. So maybe that brought up the market overall. So let's see how it opens up today. We might open up green, maybe test the highs, and then break some new all-time high on the SPY, and or we might sell off. So keep that in mind overall, especially if you're day trading. You can play it both ways. But for the SPY, man, right now I'm just going to see how it moves. And if we start selling off big time, and then we could do like a buy the dip moment, you could buy the dip a decent amount. Especially yesterday, there was a good dip buy situation in a lot of stocks, including Apple, but we did see a big sell. SPY didn't really move too much, but we did see Apple sell off all the way to like 224.7, and then we had a big V-shaped recovery, and then we rallied up to 229, which was kind of like the biggest move that I've seen on Apple in a while. So if you guys were in this trade, good job. I was actually in a call option overnight, and I sold mine, I think, at like the 228.6. So honestly, man, I sold pretty early, but not really too early. Maybe like almost $1 below. But with that being said, that was a good sell order. I was kind of nervous at first. I'm not gonna lie, it was selling off, but then it was like it was for 3 weeks, so I was willing to hold it a little bit longer. But this one right here was a crazy move overall. But we also seen that Lupnick also announced that the Commerce Department will begin issuing statistics on blockchain overall. So that's like on the crypto side. If you guys are trading crypto, we're going to be talking about a little bit more crypto a little bit later and some plays to make. We also had the job numbers come out. So the consumer confidence, sorry, it came in at 97.4. The expected was 96.5. And the last one was 97.2. So it's above the last as well. And then we also have an Apple event for the new phones. I think that's coming out September 9th. So a lot of people are talking about that as well. But we also have something else that is pretty big. We were talking about this a few days ago, but the US stock valuation is honestly had a new all-time high. And right now we're passing the dot-com bubble. 2025 has been bullish a year overall, and we made new all-time highs with the stock valuation. It's higher than the Great Depression and the dot-com. This might be the first clear sign of an AI bubble overall. So honestly, man, keep this in mind, because honestly, man, the stock valuations, man, we're getting to a level that we haven't really seen since some key events, to say. So with that being said, man, keep this in mind overall, especially September coming up. September is clearly a bearish month overall, but you never know. It could change. It could probably be bullish, but you might be able to see a big sell-off coming out very soon. And I'm not saying it's going to happen in September. I'm not saying it's going to happen in the next couple of months, but just keep this in mind overall. Please do not, marry one side when the stock market is falling. So if you guys are like bullish overall, you see the stock market falling and you keep doing those dip buys and it keeps falling, just be willing to adjust. Just like last week, I think it was, last week, I actually rearranged my call option. I lost a little bit of money on Nvidia, but then I rearranged it to a put option and I made a shit ton of money and I made all of my losses back within like a minute. Like it was kind of insane, but just be willing to adjust when you can adjust. I don't recommend holding put options overnight unless you see a clear big sell. With that being said, you can play day trades for the put options because honestly, man, we take the elevator down and the stairs up, so you can make a decent amount of money off of these put options overall. And another thing to watch is we're kind of in like the year 3 of this bull trend, and honestly, statistically proven, we're kind of flat on the third year. But the one now, we kind of had that big dip, of course, but then we're kind of rallying, we're kind of beating data basically. But as we are in the third year of a bull run, and it's much stronger than the data shows for a bull run on the third year, as we can see with this chart overall, and we're kind of just beating data, like I said before. So honestly, we're kind of moving a little bit stronger than the third year in other bull runs and data shows. So keep this in mind overall, because this can potentially, fall down, maybe go back to like the third year and or go down lower, as we've seen. I think this was in September, I believe, or not September, April, when we got all those tariffs and stuff like that. Stock market started falling, and then we started having like that V-shaped recovery. So keep this in mind overall. This is kind of big. So honestly, man, just wanted to show you guys the data. But now let's get to the key point of supports and resistance and some potential plays to make. So the SPY, man, I'm kind of just watching to see if we go up or down and seeing how the overall stock market looks for SPY. I don't really have a clear buy or sell target, but I am watching those all-time highs. If we can break past those all-time highs, see how high we can go, and then potentially maybe play a put option if we start seeing a big bounce off of the highs. With that being said, I'm not going to hold anything overnight, especially on the SPY, just because we have Nvidia, and Nvidia can move it up or down. I feel like you're just gambling on earnings if you do get into earnings. So I don't recommend trading anything overnight unless you're playing like Apple or something, which I am going to be looking at is Apple. This Apple did get to some highs like 234 to like 235. So I'm going to be watching that, seeing if we can go up a little bit higher and or if we just start selling off majorly. I put this red line because I was debating on buying a put option yesterday right at market close, but I kind of just changed my mind because it was just looking too strong. With that being said, I want to see if it would have printed or not. So I'm gonna see how it opens. But normally, man, I'm not gonna lie, Apple, I think yesterday was like the first day that the data changed. But normally we open up pretty green with Apple. We have big green candles and then we normally fall throughout the day. So the put option, even if we went up green and then started selling off, we could have probably still printed, but I just wanted to see and test it. This is one of those plays that I just chose to sit on my hands and not trade at all. But with that being said, man, I'm going to be watching Apple, see how it reacts to the all-time highs and or even holding above 230 because we're kind of below it again. Pre-market or after hours, we almost touched it and we bounced off of it. So I want to see maybe we could get that green to the 230 and then we bounce off. That could be a good put option to play. But honestly, with this one, just have your patience. I want to see how the overall market is looking. Sometimes, I'm not even going to lie, most of the time, Apple kind of moves outside of the SPY now. I kind of see like SPY selling off, but then Apple buying. And then sometimes the opposite, like SPY will go up and then Apple will be selling. So honestly, Apple is one to have your patience with, but you can make a decent amount of money off of it. Next one is going to be NVIDIA. Of course, I'm not going to be trading it pre-earnings, but tomorrow trades are back into play because the premiums aren't going to be shot up, because I think we're looking at like a 12% move upwards and then an 8% move downwards potentially. I think it's 16% upwards, I think, like the max that we can get. With that being said, though, I am going to be watching NVIDIA, seeing how people are kind of seeing where the earnings are going and seeing if we're going to get a bullish day or bearish day overall to see how earnings can look. Honestly, man, if we get a bullish day, we might just sell off more, and or if we get a bearish day, we might just have a green. So please have your patience with NVIDIA. I don't even recommend trading it unless you day trade. Day trade isn't really that bad because the premiums don't really get too messed up. But for like overnight trades and stuff like that, the premiums are going to get shot. So please keep that in mind overall for NVIDIA. But I did play earnings in the past, but now this earnings, there's a lot of pressure on NVIDIA, a lot more than before. So honestly, man, we just got to see where NVIDIA moves. The overall market is like basically watching it to see what happens. Next, we're going to talk about is Tesla. Tesla has been looking pretty strong, and we finally broke that 350 level. So honestly, this is kind of insane overall for Tesla, and I do recommend watching if we can hold above that 350 and keep on going up, and or we sell below that 350, maybe get to like 345. So honestly, you could probably play a call option, maybe play it until 355 to 360 if we do start going green. With that being said, the thing about Tesla is that once it moves one direction, it kind of stays there for a couple of for a decent amount, like a decent amount of money, $5 to $10 in the money. So keep that in mind overall. Tesla does move pretty strong, and it kind of moves strong in one direction. But when it does start selling off, I do recommend taking your profits, because sometimes, man, you'll get, like, let's say for this day, to have like an example, if you had a call option and then you get like one red that's like not even $1, you kind of lose a lot of money in that premium, because everybody's selling off. So keep that in mind too, because once it starts selling off, your premium gets shot and you might not gain as much money. You might be up 500 and that one tiny green candle comes out, you'll be up like 100, But with that being said, Tesla is a good stock to trade. I do recommend it. I haven't really traded in a while, but I'm gonna start looking at it a little bit more. So might have a Tesla trade today. I don't know, but I'm gonna be seeing how it reacts at 350, and if we start falling down, that could be a good put option, especially if we see some good volume in it too. So keep all these stocks on your radar. Follow me on X. I post like literally daily now, and I'm posting throughout the day, giving you guys all the news, giving you guys my plays when I do make them. So go follow me if you guys want. Smash the like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Good luck trading today.